Okay, this lesson for our KOINE Project class, we will notice when Jesus impeached the witnesses, the antinomian witnesses among the scribes and Pharisees. And this is the account of when they had taken a woman and accused her of adultery and caught in the very act. And the narrative, that is the scriptures, and that account involving this moment, verse 7 particularly is what we'll look at. We'll notice that the intention was to accuse Jesus. And we've seen in our political arena in the last, oh my goodness, it's always in the political arena, in people's zeal to prosecute, let's say, a political opponent. They then impeach them, or they negate their own testimony and then find themselves impeached as a witness. So we will look at this very quickly and efficiently, noticing one term, very unusual term, that will help us see more clearly. So as, and then Jesus had already stooped down, so we'll see him stoop up. And we're doing our language class, so let's be true to our class here. So men, and then on. This is imperfect, third person plural, and it has epi, upon, and from meno, abiding. So, but they were abiding or remaining upon erotontes, as one's present active part, as one's interrogating him. So what we see so far is, I mean, if we walked up on the scene, we would really think something litigious was taking place, a formal court was in session. We'll notice these people, it's past tense, continual action. So they are abiding, remaining upon him as one's interrogating. And it said, let me see what we have here. Oh, Anna, which is up, keep sauce. This is aorist. It says when he stooped up. Now this is our KOINE Project class, so we're literally going through the painful process of mechanically producing this in English word for word so we can comprehend. So he's already stooped down, now he stooped up. It says he spoke toward them. To some of this, you all have it down by heart now. Spoke toward them. And here's what we have. So he says, he's making a command. So here's the word we really want to look at. It's the unique term here, on, and then here's mart, as in martyr, witness. This is an adjective also. Atos. I guess we can separate that. Just to word it out, break it down in parts. So what we have here is two negatives. So we can say the un-negated witness. And the unnegated witness. So this is how a prosecutor or a defendant can impeach a witness. I consulted Dr. Robert Kelly, retired now, of his own law firm at one time, pastor of more than one of the Lord's New Testament churches, graduate of Missionary Baptist Seminary, taught there, substitute, help out, went on the mission field. So he was a great resource in collaborating and participating in collaborative reasoning, collective learning. And so I asked him, I said, well, what do you call it when a witness negates their own testimony? He said, well, that's when you impeach the witness. And of course, we've seen in the play out in the national networks and the global networks about our national politics for the last dozen years, probably or more. Oh my goodness, I remember the Watergate trials. But we would notice people who, in their zeal to prosecute, would not follow procedures or uh, find themselves negating themselves as a witness, and it would be thrown out of court, or evidence that was not obtained legally, or warrants were not properly issued and followed. So that's what we're talking about, and that's what we have here. So he says, the unnegated witness among you all, among, and I just noticed this today, that the King James translates the genitive as among you all, which is fascinating because heman, in you all, we use often in our language when we have an object in the locative case. In you all, we say among you all, but this is also among you all. You all, protos, first. It's actually an adjective here, first one. So ton, lethon, the stone. And the first stone is how I once understood it, but I'm not sure the way that case is different, that it's let this one we're talking about be the first one. So the stone, as in epi, upon her. And I believe that should have a iota subscript. I noticed in another Greek text it had autain in objective, accusative case, that is. But usually with epi, it's locative. So that's just a part of our language class here. So then we have balletto from ballo, but it's a second aorist. It's an imperative, balletto, ball like in throw, literally where we get the word ball. In ballistics, we'll say throw, but it could be a baseball, a stone. It's just the word throw. So let the unnegated witness be first one, among you all be first one, or first cast the stone upon her. So we'll leave that alone for now. Let cast, it's aorist. So let him, that's enough. So notice how antinomian they were. We notice it continued to escalate throughout Jesus' life. They were seeking to kill him while they were saying they were Abraham, and he said Abraham longed to see his day, and yet they sought to kill him. They said, we believe Moses. He said, had you believed Moses, but you didn't, then you would believe in me, but you won't, for he wrote of me. So they sought to kill him. Here's an occasion. So let's just look at Jesus has stooped down, and he had been writing, we will say. So what were the infractions that would be the basis of this negating a witness? And then Jesus asked and command in the imperative, let the unnegated witness among you all first cast the stone upon her, or cast the first stone upon her. So what was it? Well, we noticed there's no priest involved. So if you go to the Old Testament, to the law, which is what they were breaking, you remember when you study the trial of Jesus, you'll see how many infractions they committed just to prosecute him in their zeal. Now, I've enjoyed it walking in and finding a social church would always encroach our ecclesia, that is the ecclesia here in Jacksonville. I grew up here in this community with these people, and I saw how they had been defrauded and deceived in their own ecclesia, who they went there in good faith, as I had done. They didn't know me, of course, but they didn't know my background in investigation, root cause analysis. They certainly didn't know me as the consultant and whatever. But their very few variables were comedic, but they had so much zeal, one side to get the other side. They had some goofy deacon board that was in their zeal to get people. They would actually negate themselves, break their own in-group incestuously fabricated rules. And you say, well, that's terrible. Yeah, that's antinomianism. It's where there is no respect for law. There's a zeal to prosecute, weaponize it. So there's no priest, and the priest would do what? Assure that there was a pharmaceutical, think it's called the bitter water test. So if a husband, which three, here we can do that. There's no husband involved in this picture. And we didn't say that she hasn't done what it says. Later, Jesus would tell her to go and sin no more. And certainly that would be the appeal and the admonition that any of us would have made. Hey, you're going to get yourself prosecuted and then executed in judgment. So there's no husband, no pharmaceutical, no parents. So we didn't see parents coming in there. No one's involved. There's no husband. There's no father. I'll just put parents, namely the father. Where's the head of this house? Where's this girl's father? And then, of course, there's something else if we want to stay with our the basis of negating. There's no parakletos. There's no advocate. She had no advocate there. Notice that? The Bible says if we sin, we have an advocate with the Father, and that would be what she needed. So Jesus was her advocate, and Jesus prosecuted the case. You remember, this says while they were abiding and remaining upon him as one's interrogating him. So, and I'll just put as to go to this one, as one's interrogating him. They were so zealous that they were just, we've got you, but we have someone that's actually committed adultery. So they had no respect for due process, had no respect for confirming this, because if someone's life will be taken, capital punishment, for example, then this was necessary oversight in the process. So this is a good lesson, but yes, the scribes and Pharisees were antinomian, just like the Judaizers who were harassing the churches, Gentile churches in the southern region of Galatia. Galatians 6 says that those who are prescribing circumcision are not practitioners of the law. So they would tout one and would be given credit by appearance of being practitioners of the law. Paul himself said that as a Pharisee, according to the law, he was blameless. And Jesus had said of that same idea and that same pretentious posture that was self-negating and would warrant an impeachment even of Saul, even of Paul, the great legalist, that they were who justified themselves among men, literally persuaded each other that they were right, and they despised others, belittled them. So you notice in this account here, this daughter of Israel was nothing. She was incidental, just a means to their end. The priesthood was nothing they recognized. They've now commandeered the kingdom. The verification under his authority based on that prescription, he's ordained to do it. The head of that wife was not regarded or respected, the father of her or mother, and then there was no advocate. So you have a blessed day. Enjoy this lesson. I'll step out of the way for just a moment. You can see the board. We just free-handed there, so those of you that find the human errors is because we all are fallible, finite, and quite mutable. So we are working on our lessons, but that's a good notice, this word here, what you can learn from that. So have a blessed day. Enjoy this lesson.